That's not supposed to happen. That's tough. So loud. So loud. Anyways, I put up a request on what to do for the next ASMR video. And people were saying to whisper. And somebody also said he's storytelling. So, why not whisper and tell a story at the same time? I mean, it's best of both worlds. So I got this book from my sister called Dividing Eden. I don't know what it is. I don't read books. But, somebody joined. What's up? Or is that me? I don't know. I don't know. I'm new to this. But, so we're going to start with the book. This is the book. Oh, that wasn't me. Somebody was here. And they laughed. That's tough. It'd be like that sometimes, though. Anyways, I will read it to you on live, and you can watch it when the video gets uploaded. Either way, you still get to see it. Freedom was a myth. Gary's brother Andreas didn't think so. He said a person could feel free even when the walls surrounded him. Gary loved her twin, but he was wrong. Freedom was a mirage. It taunted and promised a great deal as it hung over out, just out of reach. Back when they were young, her brother loved pointing out the women carrying trays of bread through one of the city's squares, or the commonest children chasing each other, laughter echoing through the narrow alleys. They were all surrounded by walls, and yet they were happy. The walls kept them safe. The walls made them feel strong and secure. That, he argued, was freedom. As they sat on the battlements, he would sketch the signs for a new windmill while she watched the guards practice, picking up tips on how to help Andreas improve his skill in combat. Those who lived in the town below the Palace of Winds didn't understand that danger came in many guises, not only in the form of darkness or winter, the exiled heat they hunted during. The cold months, those were dangers that could be seen, anticipated, defeated. The massive gray stones erected at the perimeter of the town kept those dangers at bay. The white stones that bordered the castle ground high above on the plateau doubly secured the powerful and those under their protection. But the walls were a double-edged sword. Even as they pushed back outside dangers, they kept them the things that made Gary's wish for some other kind of life. One that didn't require she hide everything that she was. Gary's placed her hand on the trunk of the tree of virtues and bowed her head, pretending to ask if for some blessing or other, as girls did when they wanted a husband or a baby or a pretty ribbon for their hair. Foolish girls, they thought through the tree, like the walls was a sign of safety and blessing. How anything planted in the middle of town to commemorate the slaughter of an entire royal family symbolized anything positive was beyond Gary's. Of course, in Eden, it was only Gary's family who need worry about that fate. Perspective was everything, duty simmering. The minute he'd done, Gary's turned with the royal cards. Let's go. She kept her eyes on their back as she walked, not looking left or right, not meeting the eyes of those who fell into the bows or curtsies as they noticed her. The streets beneath her feet were soon to be paved white to match the castle walls. It had been her father's order. He said the white would show the city dwellers were as virtuous as those who lived above. He insisted the work would begin once the war was over. Gary supposed the council of elders would figure out how to keep the horses from mucking up the white of those stones. A fitting job for people as virtuous as animal droppings. She caught sight of her destination and stepped toward the trader's shop on the far side of the western square. Stay outside, she ordered the guard Carries turned and stared at him for a long moment. She watched as his face turned red, making his freckles almost pop up off his skin. Carries had that effect on people. It would amuse her if their decisions weren't so clear. When they handed her card side began to tremble, she answered, I shall be the exact amount of time I require, and not a second longer. And if you question me again, I shall see to it that your commanding officer teaches you the value of holding your tongue. Of course, Your Highness. The guard swallowed hard and looked down at the ground. I apologize for any offense, Highness. The apology was a start. If she were her mother, it would also be his end. But she wasn't her mother. She could only hope he'd remember at this moment. If he learned from embarrassment, he might have a chance to survive beyond the white walls. If not, he had only himself to blame. Gathering her skirts, Carrie stepped out with the last rays of sunlight into the tailor shop and shut the door. As soon as the latch clicked, Carrie heard a familiar voice. Welcome, Princess Carries. We've been expecting you. Carrie smiled. She felt herself relax in the warmth of the greeting and the fire crackling in the hearth on the opposite side of the stone room. A large mass of tawny fur was curled into a ball close to the fire. The fur ball opened its eyes, blinked twice, and then went back to sleep. No bows or courtesy or beelines. They had no enemies to avenge, power to amass, or familial interest to protect. So they had little need to curry favor. How did the cats get so lucky? She nodded to the thin man who straightened to his full height, barely reached the tip of her nose. The lines etched into his face were deeper than they had been the last time she saw him. Life had gotten harder in the Garden City with the war. Good man Marcus, she said with fondness. Thank you for accommodating my request so quickly. They both turned at the sound of footsteps pounding the stairs. Carrie had time to brace herself before Larkin threw her arms around her and hugged her tight. Also, if someone is watching me, let me know, because I don't know if that one viewer is me or somebody else. It doesn't tell me. Royalty always tries for dignity. Oh, that's wrong. Pity, since we were both so adorable when we were small. Weren't we, Your Highness? Larkin stepped back, tossed her mass of long, frizzy dark curls, and laughed the way Carrie so often wished she could. Royalty always tries for dignity, Carrie's replied with a mock sincerity, which means we are far too controlled to ever be called adorable. I'm certain you looked very dignified the day you fell into that pile of horse manure, Your Highness, Larkin said with a deep curtsy. I'm so... Carrie laughed. How could you not? I wouldn't have fallen if you hadn't pushed me. I didn't push you, Larkin said. I was giving Prince Andreas a well-deserved shove. You, Princess, simply obstructed my path. Goodman Marcus's eye twitched at his daughter's antics. Carrie remembered that look well from the days when he would bring Larkin to the palace to help with the court dress fittings. She was too enthusiastic and filled with energy to carefully pin hems and display bolts of silk. Typically, Larkin ended up filling her father's hand before being put in a corner to wait until his work was complete. A corner was where Andreas found and rescued her. At first, Carrie didn't talk to the stifling girl with the tear-streaked cheeks. Even at 5, Ceres had been told, and time again, that she was to avoid strangers to protect her brother from anyone who might get close to learn what must be hidden. Even then, she understood her duty to quiet the whispers in the Hall of Virtues and stymie those who would do anything to remove her family from power. But Andreas never paid attention to the rules, and he could never ignore a child in distress. Not now, not then, either. He refused to leave the dimpled, dark-haired girl weeping in a crook of the castle. No amount of arguing made Andreas relent in his quest to free Larkin from her punishment. That was the beginning of the friendship. It was the first time Carrie trusted anyone besides her twin. It was also the last. For the next... What's up, Bud, Joet? Nice to meet you, man, and thank you so much. For the next several months, the Queen frowned whenever she spotted Larkin giggling in the castle halls. But their mother never said anything pointed about the dangers of outsiders when Andreas was around. She saved that for the moment she She assured Carys that Larkin would be used against them, maybe even hurt by others who wished to do the king and his family harm. Carys was ordered to let the friendship die. By the time winter came, Andreas had found a new friend to rescue and had forgotten about Larkin. Carys swore to do the same. She lied. It was a minor fabrication compared to all the Orthans, but it always felt like a victory to her, and even small victories were significant. That's embarrassing. In the middle of a lifelong war, Larkin, Carey said smoothly, perhaps we should focus on my order instead of worrying your father over events long past. Oh, my chair's squeaky. That's not good. That is not good. Okay, so the chair makes noise. That's not good. And even small victories were significant in the middle of a lifelong war. Larkin, Carey said smoothly, perhaps we should focus on my order instead of worrying your father over events long past. Of course, Highness. Larkin sank out with a hastily bobbed curtsy this way. Larkin bounced up the steps heading towards the second floor as Carys followed. Goodman Marcus cleared his throat and said, I apologize for my daughter, Your Highness. Carey stopped at the top of the stone steps. She looked back down at Larkin's father as he twisted a link of hemp between his hands. A man who loved his daughter, a man who lived his life with a virtue none in the castle could ever understand. You have nothing to apologize for, Goodman. Carey followed the doorway at the top of the stairs. Larkin closed the door, turned, and pressed her hands upon her hips with a frown. Now that we have father convinced, we are still giggling children with the truth through in our heads. Tell me what's wrong. You're troubled. Don't you know it's not acceptable to tell a lady she looks out of sorts? You have never been a traditional lady and wasn't at the heart of the problem. My mother would have locked you in the tower for saying that. Compliments come in many forms, Highness, especially outside the White Castle walls. Ladies are boring. Every move in every situation always prescribed. Gods, they're barely even people. Larkin walked over to a large wardrobe and opened the doors to reveal several gowns. I sewed the last several nights to complete the special accommodations you asked for. Try them on. Larkin selected the most important dress first, ignoring the questions in Larkin's eyes. Carey's allowed her friend to pull the cords head tight, as if pulling curves out of thin air. But as much as Larkin tried, Carey's was never going to be soft and curvy. Her edges were hard, inside and out, still the dress fit like a glove. Her mother would appreciate that. You are not late, Bog. I just started. But welcome to the stream. This is going to be a long one. I was just trying to try it out and read this because I had recorded this video like an hour ago and then I was going to go upload it, but the audio didn't record, so I was just like, I'm just going to do a live stream then. We're just going to learn to do the live stream because I did not feel like re-recording and re-editing just to find out at the end that the audio wasn't there. So annoying. Carey cared more about what she asked Larkin to add to the dress. The compartments were hidden in the seams, impossible to spot even for one who knew they existed. Larkin was both cunning and skilled. Carey slid her hands into the pockets and smiled, extra deep, lined with leather, each with a built-in sheath, just as requested. Larkin paused, staring at Carey's for several long seconds. Carey's never friend was waiting for her to explain. But Carey said nothing, and Larkin understood her well enough to simply nod before walking into the table near the window. When she returned, she was holding an iron stiletto. From my lady's inspection. 1 second. Okay, where are we at? Where'd you get that? Carey hissed, looking toward the door. Never fear, Your Highness. Larkin smiled again. It belongs to father. He hasn't used it in years, and I doubt he even knows where he last saw it. I did, however, and thought a royal request was a proper enough reason to borrow it. blacksmith to make weapons. Unless she wanted the rest of the court and council to find her and start asking questions. Questions were the last thing Carrie's or her brothers needed. Carrie's felt inside the pocket for the shark she'd opening, then practiced sliding the blade, concealed carrier, and drawing it again. The first three draws caught on the fabric. The fourth came free without incident. With an hour of practice, she would be able to draw and brandish the weapon with both speed and ease. Knowing that made the knot of anxiety which deep in her stomach ease a bit. It had been growing there for weeks as if trying to warn her of something. When she mentioned her unease to Andreas, he told her she was jumping at the shadows, that she shouldn't look for the problems when there were none. Perhaps she was paranoid, but she liked having her blades near. With so little she could control, it was good to have command over this and know that no one, not even her brother, was aware of the secret. Just to survive the castle, all the girl needed, all the secrets she could get. Out of the corner of her eyes, Carrie spotted Larkin poking a stick into the small fireplace. Once the end was ablaze, she began lighting candles throughout the room to chase away the lingering shadows. Is there a reason you're not using the overhead lights? Carrie asked. Every business in the town allotted a share of the power harnessed by the windmills atop of the castle towers. 7 massive windmills to represent the 7 virtues of the kingdom and the power of those who lived by the virtues world. Power, it came in many forms of running the lights, operating the water, raising people above their stations, ordering people to their deaths, and Eden, you controlled the wind and the power. Candlelight is not as hardly as the overhead globe. Larkin glanced at the window, then finished lighting the last candle before placing the burning stick into the fire. Joey moved on to the next. Carmen, Your Highness. Oh, you are an OG. You still have the moderator status. Nice. Welcome back. Welcome back, buddy. Her friend turned to the side. People are saying the wind has not blown as strong as it should in recent weeks, Highness. And that's why there isn't so much power. The shortage has caused some tension. Tension was never a good word when it referred to the king's subjects. When there was tension, trouble followed. Carrie moved to the window and looked at the palace windmills. The massive structures loomed above the white walls and cut through the backdrop of the darkening sky. The sound of their journey was the accompaniment to life in the garden city. Carries could hear their pulsing hum now, but that would the blades be moving less speedily than in the past. Andreas would be able to tell. He made studying the windmills and the power they created his life's work. The orb, the light that set high atop the tallest tower of the palace, used its design. The light was supposed to welcome all who wished to add their talents to strengthen the kingdom and promise safety in its glow. Because the thing that's hidden in the darkness can never triumph when there was a light powered by virtue pushing them back. Her twin had helped build the newest light. But even he had known that the brightest orb would never banish the darkness completely, no matter how big it got or how hard the windmills turned. If I'm mad you unsubscribed, all that matters is that you're back, Art. That's all that matters. Andreas would know if there was a problem with the power production. Without her brother's knowledge, all Carries would say was that the hallways and great rooms in the palace were still illuminated, just as brightly as the wind-powered light. Not that it mattered. Lack of power in the palace would cause little inconvenience. Down here in the city, it would lead to much larger problems. Where is the tension greatest? The groan rustled as Carrie turned her back to the windows. A few of the millers have expressed some upset, but Father has given them some of the wind of power allotment. That has helped quiet the last of complaints. Larkin helped Carries out of the formal gown and into the next dress. But there are still whispers, and those whispers are getting louder with every day. It's a good thing our whispers aren't getting louder, because that wouldn't be relaxing. That was a crappy pun, I'm sorry. What do the whispers say, Larkin? Larkin bit her lip inside. The whispers say the cold is coming. The days are getting shorter, and slowly will be waking to hunt if they have come out of the slumber already. People are making offerings at the old shrine to keep the winds blowing, especially now that we have so few guardsmen to keep the walls safe if there is an attack. I thought most people avoided the shrine the first of Eden's seers ordered and constructed to give citizens a place to appeal directly to the gods in times of struggle. And they had, until 5 years ago, a cyclone appeared above the castle. As the seer drove the wind tunnel back into the mountains, he warned the deadly winds had been the answer to a careless request made in a sacred site. So I paid for advertisement on Sprizzy, and they promoted my video through other videos. So like, you know, when you get an ad before a YouTube video, that was people's ad. My video was the ad. But that's how I thought most people avoided the shrine, the first of Eden's seers that ordered and constructed to give citizens a place to appeal directly to the gods in times of struggles. And they had, until 5 years ago, a cyclone had appeared above the castle. And the seer drove the wind tunnel back into the mountains. He wanted the deadly winds had been the answer to a careless request made at the sacred site. After that, the common people stayed away. Only the most troubled were driven to visit the grove on the edge of our city. I don't think it had a specific channel. It asked like where my video promoted at. So I just put ASMR. So like on a video, like a new video that came out by, let's say, we'll use JoJo for example. Let's say JoJo made a video and an ad played. Some people would get my video as the ad. It all depends on how Sprizzy decided to market it, but it was all on ASMR videos. So I don't know where you would see it at, but I don't know if it's still up. I think my budget's already been spent. I think I made my budget $110. I think I can check it. I will check after this video and let you know. They did Highness Larkinside, but that was before, when the old seer was alive and there was enough wind power in the city. The new seer is lovely, but they wonder how someone looks as if she can be blown over by the wind can possibly have the power to control it. Those who visit the shrine say they are trying to send her strength, and those who aren't visiting the shrine, I lost it. Oh, and those who aren't visiting the shrine, what are they saying? They say your family and council will put us all in danger by installing Lady Imogen as Eden's seer. They are wondering your family's truly wishes to keep Eden safe. Carrie stiffened. Do they speak of bastions? Not where I can hear them marking the shirter. A new seer is bound to make people nervous, especially as the first good season approaches. But those I have talked to trust Prince Mika to keep the kingdom safe. They know he would not be planning to wed Lady Imogen if he was convinced the first kills. Once they are wed and the warm months return, things will settle down. Gary is forced to smile. I'm sure you're right. I value your thoughts on this. Larkin looked at Gary's, but if you don't mind me asking, Highness, what are your thoughts of our seer? All anyone in town knows for sure is that she is young and lovely. In the shifting shadows cast by candlelight, Gary stepped into the next garment, careful not to meet Larkin's gaze. Gary's pictured the dark-eyed oracle who moves through the castle as quiet as a ghost, but seemed to be everywhere and see everything. She's smart. Gary's offer. It was no lie. On the rare occasion, Imogen spoke of matters other than the wind and the stars. Her future sister showed vast knowledge of the kingdom's history and the inner workings of the castle. As she's dedicated, Gary's added in the 6 months since the seer had been summoned from the guild to court. Imogen had spent several hours of each day on the battlements, either in the meditation with the stars or in consultation with the masters in charge of the windmills. My father and the brother studied the windmills was almost as well known to the people of the kingdom as his other hobby. Larkin took a step back. I mean, no offense, Highness. There has been no gossip about Lord Andreas and Lady Imogen, only about how quickly she charmed Prince Micah. Carius let out a breath in relief. Her twin wasn't known to have many boundaries when it came to attractive women, and many of the women he encountered seemed to have even fewer than he did. While she did her best to stand by her brother, there were some things she couldn't protect him from, first and foremost, himself. Larkin looked as if she wanted to say something more, but then she shook her head and asked instead about the details of the upcoming wedding. Carius was happy to switch the conversation to talk of the ceremonies and balls and tournaments that would be held in the royal couple's honor in the Glove Eden's Orb. The cold coming and the expense of the war looming, the Council of Elders had suggested the festivities stay within the council walls. Her father agreed with the council, but Micah refused to accept their decision since everyone in the kingdom would hear the lack of typical amusements. They would speculate about the depth of council support for the crown prince and betrothed, or whether the descendants of the exiled house of Bastien might be the elders' true choice for the throne. Same, and that is so unrelated, but I can definitely agree that is one of the worst things in the world. Her twin wasn't known to have many boundaries when it came to it, wherever I know that. Oh. Carius understood her elder brother's concerns. Rumors alone could have been enough to spur the contest for the crown, especially with the war depleting their guards. So she bided her time until she found her brother alone in his room and laid out her plans for expanding the celebrations. You must tell father you've been approached by those who are certain lack of festivities, that we're losing the war, as some of your friends say. They've heard from their fathers that a smaller than normal wedding celebration is the signal to the highest lords to flee the city. You want people to think that we're losing the war? No, people thought that anyway. I want father to believe his lukewarm support for your wedding confirms for our people that Eden is losing the war. He and the council will be forced to make their celebration of the grandest scene in centuries to prove their competence and victory. And once the people witness the generosity you show at the wedding tournament, they will look forward to your reign. You will make them feel safe in their homes and gain their loyalty all in one sleep. I just had a funny thought. Yeah, my Discord is going all. Question. If I'm streaming on YouTube, does everyone on Discord see that? If so, that's awkward. That's super awkward. It's only a day for... Wait, I don't know you have my Discord. Unless it came through my headphones, because my phone's muted. Or it's coming through my laptop speaker somehow. Oops. Let me go mute it real quick. Okay, we should be good. It only took a day for Carius to hear the rumors about what the dearth of pomp and circumstance meant for the realm, and a day more for the proclamation of a celebratory tournament, street fair, and ball to be held in honor of the Nupitals. The construction of the tournament challenges had begun almost immediately on the contest field, a league from Garden City walls. They were supposed to be done by the time Micah and father returned from their first review of the battlefields to the south. I have the Discord app for Windows, but I do not have my YouTube link, so I'm good. I'm safe. That's what matters. I mean, I don't mind if somebody finds this, but kind of don't want my YouTube being found by people I know yet. I want to get a little comfortable with it first and know exactly what I'm doing before other people find it, if that makes any sense. Lucius was careful to stay close to the Garden City in the winter months. He was wise to do so. The exhausted growing in numbers every year were fierce, and winter was their hunting season. Larkin smiled. It is late in the season to travel for work, but not too late to travel to my new home. Everything inside Carrie's went still. I mean, yes and no. Maybe. I never really used Omegle that much, so I can't really speak on it. But I know a lot of bad stuff happens on Omegle from what I've heard. I mean, a lot of bad stuff happens on Discord too, so I guess that goes both ways. New home. Larkin looked down at her hands. I didn't know how to tell you. I met someone. His name is Zylan Furier, whose family lives in Essetia in the shadow of the Citadel. And well, she looked up with a shy smile. I'm betrothed. Betrothed? You're moving away. Other than Andreas, Larkin was her only true friend. And now she was going to Adsia, the district of Ethan furthest from the palace's orb, in order to get married and live a life of her own. A life with responsibilities she chose instead of the ones pressed upon her through schemes or circumstances of birth. A life no longer filled with those thirsting for power. Is this what she wished to do? Everything inside her churned. The candles in her fire flickered. If your father is insisting you marry, I can intercede on your behalf, explain that you were still young and wished to wait. I'm 4 months older than you, Ernest. Zylan is a good man. He said he knew the moment we met that we would wed. He cares for me. Of course he does. Carrie's blinked back. The sting of the tears. Carrie's crying was a weakness she couldn't afford. Not even for a friend. You are one of the best people I have ever met. He would not be worth marrying if he didn't see that. When do you plan to wed? I lost it. Oh, when do you plan to wed? On the winter solstice, I will live with Zylan's sister's family until then. Father believes we should travel as soon as possible since the days are getting shorter. He says it would be good for Zylan and me to have several weeks to get to know each other better before the ceremony. I think he's so big on changing my mind so he doesn't have to cook for himself. What's the great business idea? I'm kind of scared to hear it. But you won't. Once Larkin's mind was made up, she rarely changed it, and one of her steadfast heart was given. It never was taken back. She had proven it time and time again over the years. Larkin placed a hand on Carrie's arms. I know when you meet him, you will understand why I have to go. You will love him too. Perhaps, but Carrie would also hate him for taking her friend. She never wished anything so much that she, too, could go to Essetia, at least to attend Larkin's marriage. But it can never be. People would talk of Carrie's left the city. They'd realize how important Larkin was to her. Carrie's wedding gift to Larkin would have to be the gift of letting her go with the threat of darkness following her. Maybe then Larkin could be free from both of them. I would do that, but you see where I live in like the middle of absolutely nowhere, so my internet is trash. They don't even offer better speeds here. The fastest speed anybody offers where I live is a 8 download and a 1 upload. So when I did this before and tried live streaming games, like the quality would go down really bad. The stream would cut out. I got Verizon, but my internet is through CenturyLink, and Suddenlink's not out here. Spectrum's not out here. What else? Time Warner's not out here. It's only CenturyLink. There's no other provider out here. And the fastest speed they do is the 8, and it is so incredibly frustrating. It is the worst. I also live like 20 minutes from the nearest gas station. Never moved to rural America. It is a pain. For a minute, Carrie's let herself think of it, of finally being able to be herself and use her skills without anyone passing judgment. do something she wanted to do without using schemes for deceit, where would she be then? More than anything, she wanted to find out. Instead, she said, I do not think the world is ready for the problems the two of us would create. Larkin gave her a wistful smile. Well, maybe someday, you never know how the wind will blow, Your Highness. Maybe, she said, even though she didn't know. Her lofty, much admired life was right here in the Garden City. As long as Andreas needed her to guard his secrets and keep them all from harm, someday would never be. And that. Oh, I didn't know that. I did not know that. Thank you for letting me know that. That is the end of chapter 1. I am not a big fan of reading, but the book doesn't seem bad so far. But the reason I made this is because there was a request that I made at Your Vine where I asked people what they wanted to suggest something. 3 people said whispering, and 1 person said a story or a book. So, whispering, Buzzplug, boom, both of their requests done. But if the people like this video when it's uploaded as well, I will make this like a series. We'll do a chapter like once a week. I won't live stream it every single time. I live streamed this time because when I recorded it an hour and a half ago now, the audio got out and I had to either re-record it all or just go live. I just decided to just go live and try not to mess up so I didn't have to edit nothing. I was being a bit lazy. I don't have a Twitch at all. All I have is this YouTube. I'm new to this. But I got nothing else to talk about now. I didn't plan for this. I didn't think about this when I did it. I just made a live stream to read the chapter. I honestly didn't expect people to join. Did I really say go live on Twitch? Oh, I meant YouTube. Gosh, I'm so slow. It is 4:30 in the morning. I'm ready to go to bed. That is my fault. That is so my fault. But I'm gonna let you guys go. I hope you guys have a good night. Sorry the stream was short. I didn't expect nobody to join us. I would have planned more out. Must be nice. But yeah, I don't know if people were gonna join. I would have planned more out. I was just doing it here so YouTube would upload the video for me. I didn't feel like editing it all over again. But yeah, you guys have a good night and I will see y'all in the next video. Take care, awesome.